Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Basketball Conference, the ACC Football Podcast. My name's still Joey Weaver. He is still Mike McDaniel. Mike, it's been a couple days or so. How have you been? Is everything okay?
Everything's good. It has been, it's been a while. Been so long I had to dust off my microphone, which look, I'm sure that's something Jordan Hudson can relate to, dating Bill Belichick. I'm sure she's done that a time or two as well. So yeah, it's been a while. That's certainly a euphemism.
First minute of the show. We're back, baby. We
are back. I think some of our fans thought we were retiring or something, which, sure,
you never know.
We had people in the mentions asking if we were ever coming back. We had posted a UVA episode we did with Justin Ferber 2 months ago. That just went up on the feed about a week ago. So that gives you an idea of how busy we've been. We promised you all we do the state of the program stuff, and then truthfully, we're really busy. Like personal lives are really busy. Work is crazy. Joey got crazy work stuff going on. He's got 3 kids that are all in sports and daycare and school and everything else. You have a wife that's really busy. My wife's keeping me busy. Scott,
you've got 2 jobs, traveling to Poland.
Scott can't stay stateside for a weekend or like in the same locale. He's traveling all the time and really busy with work and
asleep by 9 every night.
He's about to go to Europe here in about a week for a wedding. So, I mean, he's really busy. He can't edit anything. We don't ask him to in the off season. It's more of like, if you can, that would be great. If you can't, we get it. We're really busy. That's it. Period. We're just very busy.
I think the real point here, Mike, is that we have had a long time to think about our excuses for why we haven't been on here. And there they all are. We've come up with a lot. And there they all are. But we're back now. We're back.
We are
live, youtube.com/@the-ACC Football Podcast. It is right about 11 o'clock on the East Coast on Thursday, May the 15th. It is great to be back with the people. We got Lee Nobody in the comments already. We're going to talk some ACC football news because, even though it's the offseason, a lot of stuff happens in 2 months. Mike, I feel like there's a clear place to dive in that, things that happened almost 2 months ago that we should probably cover on the podcast.
Yep. Let's do it.
Mike, Stanford has a new head coach.
They do.
Yeah.
Not a permanent one. Not a permanent one, though.
So there was actually like a small comment made in the UVA State of the Program with Justin Ferber that we published recently, where there was a little allusion to the fact that Stanford doesn't even have a head coach right now. And that's because it was basically shortly after we did our last news dump that Stanford announced the firing of Troy Taylor, their head coach, mainly related to what sounds like off-field like conduct in the building. And it just sounds like, from what I can tell, I didn't hear a whole lot of specifics, but from what I could tell, there was kind of this generally agreed upon sense that he's acting like a giant a-hole to basically everybody. There was some sentiment that maybe it was mainly targeted towards women, but then I heard other corrections like, no, he's an equal opportunity a-hole to everybody. So it was weird. I mean, that was apparently the second investigation into that. He had previously had one that was wrapped up, supposedly resolved, and there was another one, and that resulted in the firing. And I think there was some question of how much was the investigation. There were, what resulted in the firing versus the public nature of the second investigation. How much is this a perception thing? But
yep.
In any case, Troy Taylor's fired. Andrew Luck, the GM of the program, kind of the one who orchestrated and oversaw the whole thing and announced it. Some interesting stuff there. Frank Reich, Andrew's old, he was QB coach maybe for the Colts. I don't think he was the head coach for Andrew, was he? But
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's hired as a specifically interim head coach. So there's a lot to unpack here, Mike. Where do you want to start with it?
You can act like an asshole to people if you're winning more than like 40% of your games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we mentioned this a few different times last season, like during the year, where we were like, look, Stanford's going to have to start winning at some point. Like this Troy Taylor thing, it was a creative hire. It was something that if you're Stanford in a tough job, like that's a swing that you probably have to take. But it wasn't really working for the first few seasons. And it was like, all right, this 2025 season is going to be an important one for Troy Taylor. And then you hear all this stuff about the workplace environment and how he's not treating people well. Generally, it's just best to treat people well. That's something, it's just
General
human
rule of
nature.
thumb.
General rule of
Yeah.
thumb, like don't be a dick. But you can get away with being a dick if you're winning football games. And yeah, he wasn't doing enough of that. The more interesting prong of this, which you have already alluded to, is that Andrew Luck was put into this like general manager role at Stanford. He had not been on the job very long, right, before he was put in a position where, hey, you as the GM of the program, which this could enter into a broader conversation, Joey, because this is kind of new across college football and it's going to vary by program. How much leverage, how much control does the general manager have at a specific school? Well, we found out pretty quickly that Andrew Luck, like, not only is he like the general manager, like overseeing the roster, but he's like the guy in place to do the hiring and the firing. Like, he's almost an extension of the athletic director.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting to me, right? Because I'm thinking of general manager, and we'll talk about North Carolina later because there's a lot of fun going on there. But the general manager role of like Mike Lombardi, for example, I don't think Mike Lombardi is running the show at North Carolina. I think it's Bill Belichick, right? Like, I think as far as football ops are concerned, I don't think Belichick is taking command from Lombardi.
Well, it's an NFL model, and it's not every NFL team is set up this way, but for a lot of them, the owner, the president of football ops, whoever hires the GM hires the head coach. The head coach reports to the GM. Like that's the boss relationship. In college, up till now, basically your GM has been hired by the head coach, and the GM reports to the head coach and is kind of more the head of the recruiting function or the talent acquisition, right? So that's part of what makes this interesting is that this is probably the first like super public example where no head coach reports to the GM, unlike most college places.
Right. And he makes the firing pretty quickly. And the statement was weird. It was very like cutthroat and like, nope, I thought we needed a change in direction. Okay, Andrew Luck, you've been back in college football like 15 minutes. That's fine. You have more specifics than I do. That's fine. But we're going to go ahead and hire Frank Reich as the interim head coach for reasons I'm still trying to understand. I guess on one hand, it's a really, when the firing took place, it was, I think, early mid-March.
March 25th.
Okay, late March. It is a weird time in the hiring cycle, right? You've missed out on all the big-time coaches who are jumping to new jobs. You've missed that point in the cycle right around the national championship. That's gone, right? That's like the latter stages of it in late January. So you're 2 months late on that, and you're making a firing kind of off cycle. And I guess you don't have anybody internal already that you think could, hold the ship together and potentially be the head coach in 2025 and beyond. Frank Reich gets hired as the interim, and Reich like made no bones about it to Andrew Luck. He was like, no, this is interim. This is 1 year. I don't want to do this longer than a year. It's almost like I'm doing my buddy a favor. I used to coach Andrew Luck and I'm helping him out, sort of thing.
Like our old buddy Jim Grobe did at Baylor once upon a time.
Right. It feels that way, doesn't it? It's like I'm
basically the same
doing
thing,
you a favor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And I mean, I think Stanford's going to probably be a dumpster fire in 25. I mean, I'm seeing some ACC win totals that are starting to trickle out, and I'm all over the under for Stanford. I don't think
not a great
situation. Not a reason not to be. Yeah.
It's a 3-9 team that's losing a lot of their better players. Might be a rough fall in Palo Alto.
Reich's not a college coach either, which I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we'll talk about this with Belichick, and we've talked about it with Belichick. Like, he's not a college coach either, but like, he wasn't a very good NFL coach either. So it's like, so now we got him. We have a mediocre NFL coach, right, coming to coach college ball for a year. We have Andrew Luck, who's like doing talent acquisition at the college level for the first time at a school where it's really hard to do that anyway, at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be really bad in 25, I think.
No arguments here.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is a team that was already kind of struggling. I think maybe somewhat from a coaching standpoint, but more so from a talent standpoint. And I mean, we've talked a decent amount on this show about the things that Stanford does or requires and has been slow to adapt to the modern age of college football in terms of what you need the university administration to agree to and support. And it's making things harder more so than making them easier. And yeah, I mean, I think obviously Frank Reich being hired here is a function of you fired your head coach in the middle of the Sweet 16, like in March, right? Like,
right.
If we were doing this in January, that's probably a different story. But like, you're so deep into the offseason that it's not really the prime hiring time. So, I mean, credit to Andrew Luck for at least acknowledging that and putting it kind of out on Front Street that, yes, we are going to be interviewing other head coaching candidates, during the fall, like, and not making a big story out of that. But yeah, it might be a tough scene this fall. And I don't know. I mean, this is it's a sport where more than ever before, I think, you've got the ability to make kind of quick turnarounds, right? And quickly turn over your roster, bring in a bunch of transfers. You can go from, bad to good, like really quickly. But again, Stanford is not the kind of place that's going to take in a ton of transfers.
Nope.
I just, I don't know how much money is around that program from a, paying the players standpoint to where you're going to be dedicated. And not to mention, by the way, a great point that I heard is even with all the house settlement stuff going on where we're going to be able to pay players directly through the school, Stanford might be one of the programs out there that is directing the least amount of money towards football when you consider all the Olympic sports that they really take pride in. They're going to have to send some money to those, golf and swimming and track and field, whatever else. Like, I don't know, man. It's a really interesting and precarious place, I think, that Stanford is right now looking to the future with that football program. I don't know.
I'd rather have the Wake Forest job.
Yeah.
At this juncture,
100%.
I would rather have the Wake Forest job.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the conversation is different 10 years ago, but right now, like, I would rather have the Wake job because, I mean, that's a really good point that I hadn't heard about the Olympic sports. And thinking about that, it seals it up for me that you'd rather be Wake Forest. Wake Forest at least cares about football a little bit, right? We know that they have like money issues, but they like having a good football program there. Clawson made the administration and the boosters, to the extent that there are boosters at Wake Forest, care about having a good football product.
Yeah.
And like, it's not that Stanford doesn't care about having a good football product. It's just like, there's only so much money to go around. And like, I feel like Wake Forest is more likely to direct the resources they have to football versus Stanford, where I'm not 1,000% sure that they are going to do the same thing. I don't have the same level of confidence. So,
right.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have the Wake job.
Yep.
Just in case you're wondering, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, I mean, again, Wake's not an easy job, but like you said, I mean, I agree that I think the administration is bought in there, and there are certain restrictions. I mean, there's a difference between Wake and Clemson, but
right,
I think that they're going to do things reasonably to try to stay competitive there.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure I can say the same about Stanford right now.
Right? No, not at this juncture.
So we'll see. Curious to kind of see over the next several, I don't know, months or year or more, kind of how things shake out with Andrew Luck in this more powerful role as well. Kind of this go between the AD and the head coach. And does that create any further political, issues, within the whole administration there? I don't know. It could be an interesting thing to watch.
I feel like the GM roles, like, regardless of whether it's coach reporting to GM or GM reporting to coach, like in the North Carolina case, and a lot of other schools, that's just like the example I'm pulling. I feel like that role right now with the talent acquisition, everything else, I feel like you have to be a good manager of people and personalities. And Andrew Luck, at least publicly, doesn't strike me as that kind of guy.
He's a different cat. Man.
He's a different cat, man. And I'm not
I think he's
saying
smart. I mean,
he is smart. I mean, he's got a degree from Stanford, and when he talks to the media, it sounds like he has a degree from Stanford. Let's put it that way.
yeah.
So I don't mean any harm, and maybe he's totally different, with people he knows versus like out in front of the media, wherever he's most comfortable. Maybe it's just a little bit different, but I don't know, Joey. You and I podcast, right? And it's clear you and I have, I like to think we have good chemistry on the show at this point. We've been doing this a decade pretty much. And
don't go back and listen to episode 1, but
yeah,
by now we do.
And I feel like that comes through when you're listening to the podcast, like that we communicate well, and that doesn't come through with Andrew Luck.
It's like it's forced, or there's like some pressure there, or it's kind of awkward, and something's just not natural. I kind of know what you mean.
So the whole point being, it's going to be something to watch because I don't know how well this experiment is going to go. I think he could. I think as far as like parsing out the money and deciding what a player is worth, I think he'll be good at that part of it. I just don't know if he'll be good at the management of people thing, which it seems like in his role at Stanford, that's what the administration wants him to be. So from that standpoint, other than being like, I don't know, one of the best players in school history, I don't know why you hire him for this role.
Yeah.
Tank for draft picks. Hell yeah.
Nuke Jacket nailed it. It'll be interesting to watch. That's for sure. I feel like I had one other thing here. It's not there anymore. Mike, anything else on Stanford, Frank Reich, Troy Taylor, all that as before we move on?
Who wants this job?
I mean, it is a power conference coaching job. And you don't have to go back that far before you had a whole lengthy run of Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw that did very well there. But that was also kind of a different era of college football. And, you even saw David Shaw have some pretty tough seasons there towards the end of his tenure. And so somebody will take it, but
yeah.
I thought Troy Taylor was a good hire when they made it. Like, it made sense. Too. And, a guy who was succeeding at Sacramento State nearby, like, maybe it makes sense, but didn't come to fruition, at least not in the 2 years he was afforded.
Yeah. And you mentioned like Harbaugh having success. I think Harbaugh's like, especially if he ends up winning a Super Bowl, I think he's a top 5 coach of all time, like football, like pure football coach.
Oh yeah.
Where I think we're going to be able to make that argument if he wins a Super Bowl. I mean, you win a Super Bowl, you win a Natty. You have borderline unprecedented success at both levels of football. I mean, you can make the argument that he's like one of the best football minds ever, maybe. So, of course, he won at Stanford, right? The Shaw thing, like, I think it was a different job then too. I mean,
yeah. I feel taking over from Harbaugh, and he was already in the building. I mean, he had a good thing going. Yeah. He just had to keep it going. So that certainly helped those first few years.
Right. There's just a point where like it went off a cliff. Now I just like don't know what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Will be interesting to watch.
Yep.
Mike, you know what else has been interesting to watch?
We're having fun with this segment.
Have you been paying any attention to what's going on in Chapel Hill lately?
Jordon Hudson, by the way, not Moore.
It's been 2 months. We're a little bit rusty.
Yeah, quick.
Let's try this again.
There it is. Go. Perfect.
There we go. Wasn't Jordan Moore a receiver for Duke?
Correct.
Okay.
Out of
the slot. Right state.
Good player. Very good player. Go ACC, baby.
So this was what? This was maybe like coming off of Masters weekend, like right around Easter.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's been a couple things already of, Belichick demanding that anyone who emails him anything, everything goes through Jordon. And
Yeah.
just like her kind of in the middle of things in like at the spring game, and just some higher level of involvement from a coach's, significant other than we're used to seeing. And by the way, that's all I'm saying to begin here is coach's significant other more involved than we're used to seeing. And that's before you get to the fact that we're talking about, I'll say yes, like there's an age gap there, but more importantly, in my mind,
Yeah.
she's 24.
Yeah.
Maybe there was also some speculation she might even be younger than that. There's like lying about the age potentially going on. I just saying I saw speculation about that. I don't know if that's true or not. But so then there's the CBS Sunday morning interview with them that I guess Belichick is putting out a book, and like they're trying to do like some press for it, and he supposedly they said no, this is all just going to be for the book. And then CBS tried asking questions that weren't about the book. Jordon shuts him down, invasive questions such as how did you all meet. Jordon shuts that down. CBS comes out and says that was never agreed to, that we were only going to talk about the book. That turned into a giant PR mess. Then it was reported at one point here about a week or so ago that Jordon is actually no longer allowed in the UNC football building, to which UNC then had to turn around and put out a statement saying, yes, she is allowed in the building, even though she's not an employee. This whole thing has been just like a kind of a media circus, I think, in Chapel Hill. And I mean, it's gotten a lot of attention. And first of all, if I'm a UNC fan, this is a bad look. And it's kind of embarrassing that you're dealing with this.
Mm-hmm.
But I also can't help but think, Mike, on the other hand, does this matter at all?
Yeah. Pablo Torre is like pursuing this to the ends of the earth for like
a dog with a bone, man.
Why? Like what? Why? I don't get it. He's like, oh, and there's a real chance that Belichick won't coach a game at North Carolina. I'm like, has anything actually happened yet that like if you're a UNC fan and like you see a product in the fall with their soft schedule resembling like 8-4 is going to make you like overly concerned with whether or not Belichick wants to answer questions about how he met his very, very young girlfriend on a CBS interview? Who gives a shit? That's my thought too. No, it is a bad look for Carolina. I think I don't know why. See, I think some of this Belichick's doing to himself, obviously, right? Like all jokes aside about the age and dusting off his microphone, all that stuff. All those jokes aside, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, teach their own, of course. If you want, whatever you do on your own time is fine with me. I don't care.
That's right.
Hey. Wow. Lost my train of thought there.
So what were we talking about again?
No, but the having her kind of be in the room as like a de facto PR person with CBS News. I'm just thinking she's 24 years old. Like that is so young. Like I'm just thinking, for example, my younger sister, who's married to Scott, just turned 30. And I always, in my head, like she's 2.5 years, almost 3 years younger than me. And in my head, I always have her as like in her early to mid 20s, like in my mind, right? Because I've always, like, she's 30 now. Somebody being 6 years younger than my sister, not only dating Bill Belichick, put that aside, but also just like being very open with a popular CBS reporter and being that like pointed, like pushing back against the stuff. It's very interesting that Belichick's like, yeah, direct all of your stuff relating to PR, etc., to her. And that's aside from the CBS stuff. You mentioned the emails were like, And there's like also the report where like she's managing like Bill Belichick's brand, which I didn't even know that was a thing.
Was it
Bill
Belichick Productions, which is
Productions or something?
allegedly real and or maybe fake company? Like,
Yeah, like do you know what is Belichick producing? I mean, he wrote a book, which I'm sure will be, interesting to football people. I don't know if I'll read it, but like, and I'm a lifelong Patriots fan. I'm not sure that's a book I will read, but maybe I will. I don't know. But like, what is he producing? Like, I don't even know. That seems made up. And then what's weird too is, and you didn't mention this part. This came out within the last few days. The ACC coaches meetings took place this week. In Charlotte or Atlanta somewhere. And
Charlotte sounds right.
Yeah, and Belichick was interviewed by ESPN, and we had just mentioned the point about Belichick saying direct all your emails to Jordon Hudson, who, by the way, had a UNC email given to her. Right?
Not an employee, not a student.
Had a UNC email given to her. Direct all your questions, PR wise or whatever, to her. But then Belichick comes out on ESPN in an interview and says that she's got nothing to do with the football program.
Right.
Which kind of flies in the face of she's allowed in the building, she's this, she's that. And I'm not saying that like spouses of coaches aren't allowed in the building at any point in time. I don't think that's the case. I'm sure that's pretty common across college athletics. Hey, my wife's stopping by, let her in. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, of course.
I just think this whole thing is really bizarre. I think it caught Carolina off guard a little bit. I think it's fair to say. I think some of this, to be honest, is catching Belichick off guard a little bit. He is not used to media storms. Like he is and he's not. He coached the Patriots, all that stuff. But like the NFL is very different than college. Like the NFL is a very controlled environment with the media. You have to meet with the media on Mondays after a Sunday game. You're required to meet, I think, one other time a week. There are like mandatory things you have to do with the media. That's not really the case in college. Like if you want to just like shut the door, like you shut the door. Like you're like, nah, I'm not going to. I mean, Fuente did it a lot at Virginia Tech. He was like, nah, I'm just not going to meet with media today. Okay.
But at the same time, it's important to do so.
Right. It is.
To meet with them, not to close the door.
Right. Right. So, I mean, all that stuff aside, like, I don't know how much this actually matters. Like, they're going to get on the field pretty soon, and he's just going to be coaching. And I think this Jordon Hudson stuff, unless something catastrophic happens, I think all this is going to blow over. I mean, how much of this is actually news, though? I think the CBS thing, like, kind of took on a mind of its own. Like, that wasn't a great look for Belichick, for sure. And that wasn't a great look for Carolina. But like the Pablo Torre stuff, like, okay, he's going to like do his reporting, like go down into a hole, like reporting. And they're just going to keep responding to it. Carolina could also just ignore it.
They could.
Like that would also be a strategy because I feel like it almost hurt them to respond to some of it and put them kind of in this weird place where now Belichick's saying, actually, she's not part of the program at all. At the ACC coaches meetings. That's a personal relationship, which I think is a fine thing for him to say. Like,
makes you wonder if UNC is getting their PR advice from a 24-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody asks me, if I'm getting interviewed by CBS News and they start asking me personal questions about my wife or something, like, I think how we met is pretty harmless.
Yeah.
And it might not be to Belichick because he's in his 70s and, she's in her 20s and there's rumors about her being an escort and all this other stuff.
Oh, come on. They met on an airplane. What a nice coincidence.
What a nice coincidence, right? So, I mean, that's why that question's even asked. And that's probably, rumors being out there why they don't want to respond to stuff like that. But like, if CBS started like hammering me about my personal life, it's like at some point it's like, no, your goddamn business.
Yeah.
So I get that part of it too from a human standpoint, but I don't know how much this matters.
Yeah. Couple things I'll mention. Woke Furby had a great comment. Belichick's all about minimizing distractions, unless the distraction is himself, which that's a valid point.
Yep.
And then Lee Nobody had a comment and alluded to this, and N. Dennis mentions the $1 million of real estate that is now under her name is probably the most newsworthy, which that's probably fair.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
So I mean, I think again, I think Alexis Solaris nails it. I feel like none of this actually matters.
Yeah.
It mostly doesn't. And I mean, all that's going to matter here in a few months is, can they win games on the field? And
yeah,
this is going to have basically nothing to do with that. I do wonder a little bit if, like, the North Carolina administration gets a little bit worn out of feeling like, Jordon Hudson is like representing them in the way that she's conducting some of these dealings,
Mm-hmm.
and might say like, hey, can we tone this down, please? Like, and she's welcome to be in the building, and
I'm sure that's already been said.
Yeah. Yep. But like, she doesn't need to be making statements. She doesn't need to be on TV wearing, on an interview wearing North Carolina stuff. Like, your girlfriend's your girlfriend. That's fine. That's your business. Do what you want. But like, we can't have her speaking for us, because again, and I cannot emphasize this enough. She's 24, Mike.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of how old anybody else is, do you remember what you were like when you were 24? I remember what I was like. I didn't know much of anything about how the world works, and certainly was not qualified to be speaking for my entire company to the press and to the world, much less dictating their PR strategy.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's a piece of that to me that's like, regardless of any of the rest of it, she's underqualified for this role that she's trying to play, or that people are trying to let her play. And that's probably really where all the embarrassment comes from. So it's like, get her a little bit out of the spotlight, just let her kind of exist and be there, but not like be a key central figure in the whole operation. And all this goes away, and it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. I have a feeling some of that stuff already percolated behind the scenes, right? Where they're like, hey, just let's not continue to do this. Like, let's just chill things out. She's 24. Like, and a similar conversation. Do you remember what you were like at 24? Like, she actually doesn't know as much as she thinks she does. I'm sure they didn't say that to Belichick. He's probably really insulted because he's got a personal relationship there, but it's like, come on. Yeah, I mean, 24 years old, I was just thinking back, I was visiting my sister at college still, like going and drinking, and yeah.
I would have been a year and a half out of college, basically. And I mean, that was a solid year before we started this podcast.
Yep.
For me, I think maybe 2 years before for you.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it's like you and it's not to say that, she's dumb, or that I was dumb, or that you were dumb, but there's just, again, for the level
of maturity
of
thing.
Yeah, and just experience that's lacking there, right? Of, if I say this, if I do this, people will react this way. And, I think the way that she tried to like big time CBS in that interview is like, yeah, you thought you were making a power play, and in reality, you made yourself look like an a-hole, like, and, you made everyone ask more questions. So that's kind of where I'm at. Woke Furby, if they go 8-4, nobody will care about this at all. But if they go 4-8, UNC will get sick of that act real quick. That is correct.
It's the same Troy Taylor conversation. It's the same thing. Like,
just win games, and a lot of this goes away.
That's it.
Which, looking at that schedule, it's not a tall ask.
Yeah. Going 4-8 would actually be like more impressive.
Yeah. Yep. We will see. Mike, anything else there? You ready to move on?
Nah, I'm ready to move on.
Can we quickly remind the people about section103.com?
We can.
It's the internet's premier place for all things wonderful Georgia Tech apparel, Mike. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats. Things for men, women, children, something for the whole family. Get it all at section103.com. Use promo code GOACC at checkout for 10% off your first order. I love mine, wearing it right now. This is the performance stuff. It is getting hot down here in Houston. It was like 96 and humid today. So here we go with summer, I guess. But the performance wear keeps me cool, keeps me looking good. It's super comfortable, super high quality. I've been wearing this shirt for years, and it is holding up great. The official word marks, the official colors, all officially licensed. And I know that these things can, for a long time, they were hard to find. It's hard to find good looking Georgia Tech apparel. They got it. Lots of it. Section103.com. Once again, use promo code GOACC at checkout for 10% off your first order. Shout out to Steven and the gang. Appreciate their support. They've also had a big offseason, by the way. I don't know if you saw Steven posting in the last couple of weeks that they previously were warehoused out of his, I forget if it was his garage or his basement, but no longer. They have moved into a larger warehouse and fulfillment center that I think business is going pretty well for him. So appreciate your all support of him and of his brand, and please keep doing so and keep using section103.com with promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order.
Business is booming.
Hell yeah, it is. When you got a good product, it makes sense. Just got to help people find it. That's right. Where we come in. Should we talk about the NFL draft a little bit here, Mike?
Sure.
That was another thing that's happened in the last couple of months. I do not have a count of how many ACC players were drafted, but plenty of them were. I'm going to quickly run through the first couple of rounds, and then we'll hit some highlights from there. First overall pick to the Titans, Cam Ward. Obviously, as we all know, he ended up winning the perceived race that there was between him and Shedeur Sanders for who would be the first quarterback taken. Shedeur was not the second quarterback taken, or the third, or the fourth, or the fifth. He was in the fifth round, but that's a story for another day. Cam Ward goes first overall to the Titans, and then the only other first-round pick out of the ACC, Amarian Hampton, running back out of North Carolina, he goes to the Chargers. That surprised you at all, Mike? Just 2 first-round picks?
No. I mean, we'll talk about Tyler Shuck in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
There was rumors that people had him as like one of the top quarterbacks on the board, which come on. We've all watched We've all watched him play, and I think he could probably have played more if he wasn't hurt all the damn time.
Yeah.
We really doing this? Like, is it that weak of a class? I don't know. Anyway.
I mean, somewhat, yes. But
I mean, the answer is yes. Yeah, the answer is definitely yes.
Memory serves, he was the third quarterback off the board. I think only Jackson Dart was drafted between Ward and Shuck.
Good luck to you.
Fair enough. Second round, as you mentioned, Tyler Shuck, 40th to the Saints. Quarterback out of Louisville. Donovan Ezeraku, defensive end at Boston College, goes 44th to the Cowboys. Elijah Arroyo, tight end out of Miami, goes to the Seahawks at 50. Anthony Belton, offensive tackle, NC State, goes to the Packers at 54. And then Ozzie Trapilo, offensive tackle, Boston College, 56 to the Bears. So starting to get into some line play there. I think, truthfully, if I'm looking at this, I'm not surprised that there were only 2 players in the ACC taken in the first round. If I'm surprised by anything, it's that Amarian Hampton was a first-round pick and Donovan Ezeraku was not.
Yeah.
Probably, if I was guessing if there would be 2, I would have guessed Ezeraku over Hampton. But, I mean, both really good players at what they do. So I understand teams wanting them with some of these premium picks.
I thought Ezeraku would be a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Size, athleticism, production. I thought he would be a first-round pick. But, yeah, going relatively early in the second round doesn't hurt anything.
Yep. I'll run through some of these. I'm not going to hit on every single one from here. Just kind of hit some notable names. Third round, 66th overall to the Chiefs, Aston Gelati, defensive end out of Louisville. 73rd to the Jets, Azariah Thomas, corner out of Florida State. 93rd to the Saints, Jonas Sanker, safety out of Virginia. Fourth round, Bashal Tootin to the Jaguars out of Virginia Tech. We got Barrett Carter, linebacker from Clemson. He's going to the Bengals. Jalen Lane, receiver from Virginia Tech, to the Commanders. So he's staying right around the DMV area. Quincy Riley, corner out of Louisville. He's going to the Saints as well. The Saints are, like, as much as I already hated the Saints taking all these Louisville players, trying to make me hate them even more. And
yeah,
this is going to drive me nuts if Tyler Shuck and Quincy Riley are really good for the Saints, and I can't cheer for them. That's going to suck. Eli Kayamaner, receiver out of Stanford. He's going to the Titans in the towards the end of the fourth round. And then right after him, one pick later, Josh Farmer, defensive tackle, Florida State, to the Patriots. Fifth round, Jalen Rivers, guard out of Miami, to the Bengals. Francisco Mauigoa out of Miami, linebacker, goes to the Jets. Rondé Gadsden, tight end out of Syracuse. He goes to the Chargers. Jackson Hawes, tight end out of Georgia Tech, goes to the Bills. That got the Jackets on the board. Tyler Barron, defensive end, Miami, goes to the Jets. Dorian Strong, corner out of Virginia Tech, he goes to the Bills. Kyle McCord, sixth round, to the Eagles. I'm surprised he lasted that long. Andres Borregales, kicker out of Miami, goes to the Patriots in the sixth round. Gavin Bartholomew, tight end out of Pitt, goes to the Vikings at the end of the sixth round. And then Antoine Powell-Ryland, Aeneas Peebles, both out of Virginia Tech, also towards the end of the sixth round. Powell-Ryland to the Eagles, Peebles to the Ravens. Last round, Damian Martinez, running back out of Miami, goes to the Seahawks. Brashard Smith, LaQuinn Allen, Phil Maffa, all running backs. They go to the Chiefs, Jaguars, and Cowboys. Kanata Mumfield, receiver out of Pittsburgh, goes to the Rams. Zeke Biggers, defensive tackle out of Georgia Tech, he goes to the Dolphins. And then finally, Fadil Diggs out of Syracuse, defensive end, goes to the Saints. The Saints love them some ACC players, Mike. That's what I'm learning here.
4 or 5.
That's right. That's right. Any big thoughts, takeaways, notable picks here from the NFL draft as it relates to the ACC?
The only one where I was like, when he got drafted, I was like, I love the fit, is Jalen Lane with the Commanders, because I think he's going to cook in the slot. I've thought for a while he's an NFL player. He's a great route runner. He's extremely quick. He's very fast in the open field. He's got kick return ability, punt return ability. And he's in a great offense. He's in a Cliff Kingsbury offense with Jaden Daniels playing quarterback. I think it's a great fit. He stays local to Virginia, obviously playing for the Commanders. So, yeah, I think he's going to do well there. I think it's a really good fit.
Yep. I don't know that I called out any of the Cal players that were drafted. They had Noel Williams, corner, Craig Woodson, safety, Teddy Buchanan, linebacker, and Marcus Harris, corner. Good number of draft picks out of Cal. That stuck out to me. I'm not sure I was stunned, but was kind of surprised that Xavier Restrepo did not get drafted.
Yeah.
Miami. And honestly, maybe a good thing that he didn't, because being a free agent at the end of the draft, you can kind of pick and choose where you want to go. And I believe the story was that Cam Ward went to the Titans first thing and said, "Get that guy in our building." So he gets to continue playing with Cam Ward, which will probably be a good situation for him if I had to guess.
I would not bet against Xavier Restrepo, man. Like, he didn't run a very fast 40 time, but also, like, who cares?
Yeah.
If you get open, who cares? And he gets open a lot. So, yeah.
It does drive me nuts sometimes, and has for years, how much the NFL gets completely infatuated with physical traits, speed numbers and, quickness numbers and some things like that. And they get like totally hung up on all of that, and they totally lose sight of who's a good football player.
Yeah.
And I think Restrepo is a good example of that his numbers at the combine were not good, but I've watched that guy on Saturdays for years, and that's a good football player. Like,
he's good.
I always thought the Patriots, honestly, that was where they made a lot of hay, was guys that were kind of these underappreciated players coming into the draft process. But boy, they were some good football players in college.
Edelman, for example.
Guys that always know where to be. And just have a way of finding their way into open space in the secondary and all that. So
something that Restrepo is going to have to do a lot, which
mm-hmm.
is something that he did a lot at Miami. Like,
mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that too.
I was surprised his numbers weren't any good. It was like, this guy's always open. I mean, he must just have a real knack for it. Because, yeah, if you're not able to just completely out-athlete guys left and right, that tells me that your technique and your senses and instincts are really something else. So good on him. Hopefully that works out for him.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet against him.
Yeah, definitely would not. Any more thoughts on the draft?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, this is not really our bread and butter. But
one more thing. I was surprised McCord slipped as far as he did, just because he's very accurate. So I'm just pretty surprised he fell that low. Like, he's not the greatest athlete in the world, but like, couldn't you see him just getting in like a West Coast offense and being totally fine?
Oh yeah. Oh, completely.
So, and also, like, he took a lot better care of the ball at Syracuse, and he kind of added that dimension to the game where, like, he was asked to do a little bit more at Syracuse that he wasn't asked to do at Ohio State. I think that was pretty clear. And with less talent around him, he put up better numbers. So I don't know. That's something that would, I'm not an NFL scout, clearly, but like, that's something that I would be interested in adding to my team. So I'm surprised he slipped as far as he did.
Yeah, I mean, a guy like that, he was a 5-star kid coming out of high school, has quite the pedigree. Looked really good for the most part for Syracuse. Had a couple of off games this fall, but by and large was very good. And I was also surprised. I mean, I didn't think he was going to be a second-round pick or anything like that, but I thought more like 4th or 5th round as opposed to getting all the way down to 181 to the Eagles. But, I mean, that's a guy I think that he certainly wouldn't be ready to start day one. But as far as an investment guy who can be a backup and might, by the end of this year or next year, give you a chance to win games if he has to come in and spell your starter, I mean, absolutely. So going to be interesting to watch and see how that goes in Philadelphia, where that offense is kind of tailored in a bit of a different way. I mean, he and Jalen Hurts are pretty different quarterbacks. So
yeah,
they're going to have to call a different offense if he comes into the game. But, certainly like you talked about with a West Coast system, I mean, having the run game behind him and being able to just work off of play action would be very much in the playbook there in Philly.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
So, I think that's all I got in the draft. Yeah. Not our bread and butter, but a good thing to acknowledge.
No. Yeah.
Shout out to all those guys that did get drafted from the ACC schools. I don't know that I have a sense that it'll be more or less next year. Do you feel like the conference is getting more or less talented over the years?
If you ask national media, they're going to tell you less talented because the only conference that matters is the SEC.
Right. And if they don't matter, then the Big Ten matters.
Correct. And if either one of them matters, then you're probably a fan of lesser football and you have to expand the playoff. That's correct. Let's get to 16 schools and make sure we have like 12 bids secure for those 2 leagues.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Can't be missing out on those opportunities.
Cannot wait to watch 6-6 Northwestern in the college football playoff eventually. Cannot wait.
That's right. Yeah. Think of the Big Ten, Mike. Just can't forget about them.
Yep.
Mike, I have terrible news.
Oh boy.
Hang on.
Yes.
Scott Loeffler, our beloved ACC failing upwards, now head coach of Bowling Green, is no longer the head coach of Bowling Green. He has resigned his position, taken a new role as quarterbacks coach for those Eagles. That is a shame. We have enjoyed talking about Bowling Green, and for those that don't remember how that all started, Scott Loeffler, former offensive coordinator for Boston College, I think maybe around the time this podcast started.
Yep.
And was not doing a very good job, and then got hired by Virginia Tech, which certainly seemed like it was kind of a step up as an offensive coordinator. Then he wasn't doing a very good job, and then he got hired as a head coach, and it was just continually failing upwards, and just felt like he was an honorary ACC member, and that made Bowling Green an honorary ACC team. And with him out of there, Mike, we got to decide: are we still a Bowling Green podcast?
Absolutely. I mean,
okay, all right,
we can't let a good bit go to die just because Scott Leffler chose to go coach Kyle McCord. Like we can't, yeah.
Man.
Plus, the sound is too good. I mean, we can't just dump that sound. It's still good.
That's right. I'll be honest. I think I've said this before. I'm not totally sure that's actually a falcon. That's I think that's a different species of bird, but
yeah,
that's what I was looking for from a sound effect wise. And
Scott
we can
figured that out. Didn't Scott figure it out? Didn't he find the sound on the internet and was like, "Oh, I know what that is."
Or maybe one of the commenters was like a aviary expert and was able to tell us exactly what it was.
Especially in season, I wouldn't be surprised if we had some aviary experts in the comments. That would not shock me.
Especially with Cal and Stanford in the conference now.
That's true. Yeah. And Andrew Luck, when he's not selecting players, he's telling me what bird calls he's doing these days.
You think Jordon Hudson's into birds?
Oh God. She's into mushrooms. Yeah.
Hey, is that confirmed somewhere?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. Mushroom tops only.
Mike, what else? So I will say this. This was an effort doing this show to come back and like hit on the things that we missed while we were gone, while acknowledging there's not a chance that we're going to hit on everything. We just kind of wanted to hit some of the high points. So acknowledging that, yes, we have absolutely missed some things on this show. Anything sticking out to you, Mike, that you want to talk further on, or do we want to wrap this up?
We can wrap it up. Maybe we come back in short order, like not 2 months from now. 2 months from now, we'll be in season previews, right? We'll be in season preview mode.
Right.
Maybe we come back soon and do win totals.
We should do that.
That'll be fun, and we should do that. Look, NFL draft, not in our wheelhouse. Win totals, very much in our wheelhouse.
Yes, absolutely. That is in the DNA of this show.
Yeah. Shout out Bet US.
Who?
Maybe the best Zoom call I ever had.
I don't remember which one, but I'm sure one of them was, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, one in particular stands out.
So I have a suspicion of which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
but anyways,
wish I was better prepared. I'll tell you that.
We'll put that in the private chat. All right.
Yeah. Will you ever explain that joke? Absolutely not.
Will not. That's funny for us and Scott and basically nobody else. So
absolutely not. Mostly because we want to make sure we're able to get more sponsorships.
Yeah.
that's most of the reason why.
Yeah. It would not be good for our sponsorships to talk trash about our actual sponsors. And there's I mean, we don't say bad things about our sponsors. There's just that one time that was anyways,
right.
What
coupon code Bet US.
Yeah. I think I've still got a couple bucks over there that I might never see again. But
yeah, it's because you have to deposit like Solana or Ethereum to access any funds.
I mean, I feel like we got in on the offshore betting market advertisement at the right time, right as like half of the United States was legalizing it. So
right, which
I think that was the right time.
It was certainly the right time. That's why we made so much money off of that particular sponsorship endeavor.
Right. Yeah. Probably a net negative for me if you consider the $100 I still have in the account there.
Certainly a net negative, especially because you probably can't even remember your password at this point.
Oh, absolutely not. I haven't logged in there in years. Who knows?
Yeah.
Nuke Jacket, good point. Way too early Charlotte predictions. We could do that with the win totals. I think that'll be a good thing to do.
We could. I can give one off the cuff. We'll give one off the cuff real quick, and then we can just change it in a week.
Let's count. I'll count to 3, and we'll say it at the same time. Ready?
Because I haven't even looked at schedules.
Right. No, neither have I.
I don't know the second team though.
No. Well, let's do it at the same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Georgia Tech. Any?
Oh. Clemson will be there.
Yeah.
I'm very confident Clemson will be one of the representatives.
That's fair.
They're going to be really good, guys. Like, really, really good.
I'm going to save my thoughts for later.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if we need to like slightly put brakes on the Uber Clemson hype train.
Oh,
Like,
really? Okay. All right. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at another time, and I'm sure I'll probably end up having to eat those words. But what's podcasting for if not eating words? So
yes. Let's save it for the Win Total podcast.
Let's do that. Mike, anything else for tonight?
No.
You want to work on getting out of here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. This has been fun. Appreciate the folks in the chat. We had a good crowd show up for late on a Thursday night. It's been a lot of fun. Good conversation. Good catching up with you guys, and good to be back, and appreciate the folks who showed up. Come find us if you did not, youtube.com/@the-ACC football podcast. We're on all the places you go find your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, wherever. Go find us there. Hit the subscribe button. Drop us a rating. Drop us a review. We would appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the bell icon on YouTube. Do all that. We would really, really appreciate that. youtube.com/@the-ACC football podcast. Mike, we are on Twitter @FTRS Joey, @Mike McDaniel SI, @BC Podcast ACC. Send us an email. This is prime email season, Mike. So the people, if you got something for us, hit us up, basketballconferencepodcast@gmail.com.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Where else on the social medias?
Facebook.com/basketball conference. Rate, review, find some of our podcasts there. I'm willing to bet any amount of money that UVA podcast we just did is not on Facebook. I've like life savings, kids college, that sort of thing. No shot.
Up right now.
I mean, there's just simply no shot. I mean, maybe I'm open to being wrong, but probably no shot.
What's funny is that this is actually streaming live on Facebook right now. So
nice.
If you're watching us on Facebook, sup. Thanks for joining us.
Sup. Yeah. We can do a side by side. Remember when Hawaii was on Facebook one time? Scott and I do. Scott and I bet that 2 a.m. game.
Wasn't Oklahoma Army and that guy's feet also on Facebook at one point?
Yeah. Yes. That's. Thank you.
There you go. Mike, I think that's all I got. Anything else? Support our sponsors, please.
Please, yeah. Support our sponsors. So, and you know what? A good thing for our sponsors would be if we recorded more than once every 2 months. That would probably be helpful as well for our sponsors.
Yeah. No, yeah. I don't know much about sponsoring, but I'm sure that would be a positive for them. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, they would be happy with that.
Yep. Mike, you want to come back soon and talk win totals and me having some slight Clemson shit talk and whatever else?
Yeah.
Why not?
Off-season banter.
That's right. I feel allowed to curse in the final 30 seconds, so it's probably fine.
Yeah. Who's listening now? Anyway.
No, probably nobody. Lee nobody especially, but hey.
Nobody. Hey.
Yep. Mike, we'll talk soon.
Yep.
All right. Until next time, for Mr. Mike McDaniel, I'm Joey Weaver. Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate you joining us in the chat. For those who did, we will talk to you again very, very soon. We swear this time, for real. Until next time, go ACC.